janam paya, Radha Krishna bhajiya. Jayam Vishnu Paramhamsa Prabhujakacharya Jashtatar Sri Simad Shila Abhay Charanarabinda Bhakti Vedanta Shami Shila Prabhupada Ki Jai ISKCON Pratishtata Acharya Shila Prabhupada Ki Jai Shamaveta Gaud Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Sri Sri Nitai Gaud Shitanath Premanandi Hari Hari Bol Bande Ham Sri Guru Sitita Padakamalam Sri Gurun Vaishnavang Cha Sri Rupam Sagurajatam Shahagana Raganatam Vitang Tang Shajibam Sadvaitam Shavadutam Parijana Shaitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Shahagana Lalita Shibishagam Vitang Cha Mantra Guru Ajota Shika Guru Gon Ta Chardane Agi Kori Abandon Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gaudavani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Prashchatta Desha Tarine Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Today, our respected hearers of the Sri Chaitanya Bhagavat will be describing the concluding portion of the Madhya-lila first chapter, wherein Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu begins his pastimes of performing Sankirtan. We'll be reading today from the first chapter, text number, is that 352, around about today, 362. Now, before we begin that, we'll do a bit of a recap. We heard how Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, in the guise of performing Shraddha ceremony, offering Pinda for his departed forefather, Jagannath Mishra, we heard that he traveled to Gaya Dham, and there he began his pastimes of manifesting love of God. Although we know that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is God, he is Swayam Bhagavan, just as we sang this morning, Brajendra Nandana Jai, the darling son of the king of Braj, Shachi Shuta Hoilo Shay. He has appeared as the son of Sachi Devi in Mayapur. Baladama Hoilo Nitai, the Balaram Lord Nityananda. And however, in this particular incarnation, in this particular avatar, Chaitanya avatar, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he doesn't explicitly reveal himself as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. There are some occasions that we've been discussing in these sessions, at various occasions, just like in his childhood pastimes. Mote nana bhabe aishadja dekai bhallabab prakatiya pashchat lukai. In Bhallabab, in his childhood pastimes, as childhood play, he would demonstrate his opulence, Aishadja, as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, to enhance his playful pastimes. He would bewilder Jagannath Mishra and Sachi Devi after returning from the Ganga, after disturbing the baths of all the Brahmins and Brahmanis of Navadip. He bewildered the thieves who had captured him to try to loot the beautiful ornaments on his golden-limbed form, his ankle bells, his earrings, his other ornaments, bracelets. Seeing they became greedy, they wanted to steal, to plunder the jewels on his transcendental body. And he took the opportunity for a transcendental joy ride through Navadip. And the thieves were passing Sandesh up to him as he was sitting on their shoulders and enjoying the tour. and thinking they were going to their hideout, actually they found themselves in the courtyard of Jagannath Misra. And in this way, Nimai performed his childhood pastimes, just displaying his opulence as the Supreme Personality of God. At one time, one itinerant Brahmin came and he was cooking his offerings. He carried around his neck the Bal Gopal deity and Shalagram Shila. We discussed the Leela in detail on a previous occasion. And Goshundar, he was attracted to eating those offerings. More mantra jope, more abhan, rohitena pariyamiyashi tomashtan. You chant my mantra, you invite me to take the offerings. I cannot resist. Rohitena pariyamiyashi tomashtan. I come there and I accept those offerings. And then he demonstrated, he revealed an 8-armed form, Opurva, never before seen, an 8-armed form. He revealed to that itinerant Brahmin. And these pastimes, these continued up to Gaur Gopal, Gaur Mahaprabhu's Vishwambar Nimai, up to the age of 5 years old. Ballabha Prakatya Paschat Lukai. After that, he covered his opulence as the Supreme Personality of God. It's specifically for the Vidya Leela, and he enjoyed Vidya, learning, the pastimes of learning. Shardva Navadipe, Prati Nogode, in all of the different communities of Navadip, Shishigon Shonge, along with his students, Bidarash Kridakode. He enjoyed the pastimes of learning. And what a scholar Nimai became, that the most Navadip Chandra, the most glorious scholar of Navadip. Sharva Navadipe, Sharva Lo Koilo Dhoni, Nimai Pandit Oddapak Shido Mani, the jewel of the professors of Navadip. Everyone, all you could hear in Navadip, Sarva Lo Koilo Dhoni, all you could hear from the lips of the Navadip residents. Nimai Pandit Oddapak Shido Mani. Nimai Pandit is the jewel of the scholars in Navadip. Now, these pastimes continued for an extensive period of time, almost for 20 years, almost for 15 years, actually, from 5 to about 19, 20 years old. And then we were discussing on previous occasions how Nimai journeyed to Gayadam. And upon seeing the lotus feet of Sri Madhusudhan, Sharva Jogated Bhagye Prabhu Gauchandra, Prem Bhakti Prakashe Korila Aramba, Sarva Jogater Bhagye, for the benefit of all the universe, Sarva Jogater Bhagye, Prabhu Gauchandra, Prem Bhakti Prakasher, the manifestation of love of Krishna, Prem Bhakti Prakasher, Korila Aramba. He began to demonstrate the sublime state of love of God, Prem Bhakti, loving Krishna. Actually, he is that Krishna. But in this particular incarnation, he's demonstrating the characteristics of a devotee in order to teach us the practice of devotional service. Now, meeting with Ishwar Puri Prabhupada, Toma Dekle Matro Koti Pitrigon Shekone Sharva Bonda Pai Bimochon. Just by seeing you, Mahaprabhu explained, just by seeing you, the whole purpose of my journey to Gayadam has been fulfilled. Tomar dekle matro, just by seeing you, simply by seeing you. Tomar dekle matro, koti pitrigon, millions of forefathers. Koti pitrigon, shekone, at that very moment of seeing you, shekone, sharva bondho, all bondage, pai bimochon, they were relieved, they were freed from all bondage, just by seeing you. Mahaprabhu was explaining the Vaishnav Siddhanto, that Krishna Bhakti Korile Sharva Karma Kritahoy, Vishwash Kohe Sudrida Nishchoy. The devotee has the great conviction and faith that Krishna Bhakti Korile, just by devotional service to Krishna, in this case, Sadhu Sangha, just by the potency of associating with a great devotee, Tomar Dekle Ematra, just by seeing you. Koti Pitrigon Shekone Sharva Bondabai Bimochon, they were delivered from all bondage just by seeing you, just by the power of your association. Mahaprabhu personally establishing this conclusion. And then Mahaprabhu, although desiring, overwhelmed with love of Godhead, Jopati Jopati Mantra Koryale Pagol, Kiva Mantra Dilogoshai Kiva Tarbal. What is the power of this mantra you have initiated me in? Ishwar Puri Prabhupada, Mahaprabhu is questioning. Kiva Kiba mantra dilo. What mantra have you given me? Kibata ball. What is its power? Jopadi, chopadi, mantra, korile pago. I become overwhelmed or crazy. And Mahaprabhu in flaming, burning love of Godhead, in the middle of the night, he abandoned his accommodation and associates in Gaya Dham and running here and there, trying to in the direction of Vrindavan Dham. Koto dur chaite shune divyabani. After traveling some distance, he heard Dibbavani, a transcendental sound from the sky. Ekoni matura na jaiba Dvijamani. Oh, Dvijamani, the jewel of the Brahmins. Ekoni now, Mathura na jaiba. You will not go to Mathura. You have to go back to Mayapur and establish a Sankirtan movement. So Mahaprabhu returned to Mayapur and then began to demonstrate a complete change in behavior. Simply by hearing the name of Gayadam, Parda Parda Tirtha Layite Matronam, simply by taking the name of Pada Padda Tirtha, Gayadam, Pada Padda Tirtha Layite Matronam, Nayaner Jale Shab Punna Hoilostan, Nayaner Jale, the water from his eyes, Nayaner Jale, Shab Punna Hoilostan, the place was flooded, Shab Punna Hoilostan. The garden was flooded with tears just by uttering the name Pada Pada Tirtha. And of course, the news spread very quickly, and we've been discussing. All the devotees heard the news. Apurva, was that say Apurva Kata Maha Ashambhav Nimai Pandit Hoilo Parama Vaishnav. Nimai Pandit Hoilo Parama Vaishnav. He's shedding tears of love of Godhead. Is flooding the courtyard. And then the Nimai returned to the students were a little perplexed. He was trying to give the class. We discussed many things. Students were perplexed. They approached Gangadas Pandit. Gangadas Pandit, he corrected Nimai. And Nimai, yes, by your mercy. No one can stand before me. No one can refute my arguments in all of Odiya. And at that time, we know Odiya was not just one village. It was the center of learning for Bharat. Chartodik hoite log Navadip jai. From all directions, the scholars were coming to Navadip. Log Navadip jai, Navadip Porile, Shay Biddarashpai. Navadip Porile, by studying, those who study in Navadip, Navadip Porile, Shay Biddarashpai. One gets a taste for learning. This is one aspect. Even now, one gets a taste for studying. One gets a taste for hearing. One gets a taste for all aspects of Sadhan Bhakti simply by living in Mayapur. Navadip Boshe, Jay Mantra Job Kore. If you sit down in Navadip Boshe, if you sit down in Navadip, Jay Mantra Job Kore and chant mantra, Shri Mantra Chetana Hoy Annaya Shaitore, that mantra becomes surcharged and very quickly delivers you. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur is explaining any mantra. What to speak of chanting Mahamantra, sitting and chanting Mahamantra in Navadip Dham. Listeners of the Chaitanya Bhagavat, develop a desire to reside in the holy Dham, Navadip or Mayapur, and perform Sadhan Bhakti. Develop a desire. So Mahaprabhu, hearing the instructions of Ishwar Puri Prabhupada, he again began giving his classes. He was walking to the Ganga, and then he passed by the house of Ratnagarbha Acharya, who was chanting the verse from Srimad Bhagavatam, the verse describing how the wives of the Yogic Brahmins, how they went to see Krishna. The Yogic Brahmins didn't even respond when the cowherd boys requested some prasadam. However, Krishna and Balaram suggested you approach the wives of the Yogic Brahmins. I think I mentioned to you that I was a student in the college in Melbourne, and I got the book, Krishna book, and I opened it randomly, and opened it at that particular Leela. And I read that story. It was the first time I heard about Krishna Katha. Reading Prabhupada's books, reading the Krishna book, I read that story. The Krishna and Balaram, the wives of the Yogic Brahmins feed Krishna and Balaram. I still remember that incident. That was almost 45 years ago. So they came, the wives, they didn't just send the prasadam, they came. And then Vrindavan Srila Vyasadeva, he's also Vrindavan Das Thakur, but Vyas Muni, he's describing in the Bhagavad the beautiful form of Krishna, how he's leaning on a friend and with his left hand on his shoulder, right hand he's twirling a lotus leaf, with beautiful on his forehead anointed with gopi chandan and tilak, and the beautiful the Kushtuba mani jewel around his neck, and sribatsa, and the beautiful peacock feather in his hair, and a turban. Shamshundo, his darkish form. Reading this sloka, which is describing that form of Krishna, Ratnagarbhacharya is sitting in the doorstep reading that sloka. The sound entered the ears of Goshundra, and immediately he became overwhelmed. He became overwhelmed with love of God, and rolling on the ground. Even 100 students were unable to contain Mahaprabhu's ecstasy. And then that went on for several hours, and then Mahaprabhu began speaking about Krishna Katha for several hours. And the students were astonished. And then the next day, Mahaprabhu was asking the students about his class, and they were explaining. Now we're reading from text 362 of chapter 1, Madhakanda, Shittat and the Bhagavad. The students were explaining, Apurva Baba Yeshab Deke Joto John Shabai Bolene Purush Narayan. Apurva Babaye, seeing these ecstatic symptoms of Mahaprabhu, demonstrating they're never before seen such a manifestation of love of God in a person. They're never before seen. In fact, these symptoms is only Mahaprabhu demonstrates. No other being can experience these. He's reflecting the mood of Sri Radhika, the Radha Bhav. Apurva Babaye Shab. All of the Apurva Babaye Shab means all of the bhav, all of the symptoms of love of God, apurva, which had never been seen before. The extraordinary symptoms of love of God. Apurva Babaye Shab Deki Jota John. All of the people who were there, Deki Jota John, all of the people who were seeing these manifestation of extraordinary symptoms of love of Godhead. Shabai Bolin. They all explained, A Purush Narayan. A Purush Narayan. He must be the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In this way, Goshundra performs his extraordinary pastimes. So the students continued that gradually, after demonstrating these Apurva Babaye Shab, all of these extraordinary symptoms of love of God, he gradually came to external consciousness and gave the class. But everything you've been saying for the last 10 days, all of the aphorisms, all of the commentaries, everything you've been saying is simply about devotional service to Krishna, the glories of Krishna's name, and the conclusion of all Shastric aphorisms you explained is the Krishna Dhan, is the wealth of love of Godhead. So then, now of course these ecstatic symptoms, these are not to be imitated, not that we in the Kirtan Mahaprabhu, in next week we'll be discussing Mahaprabhu in the house of Advaita Acharya, hearing the Kirtan Kodite Prabhu Sharva Bhabu Doi. When the Kirtan later, this Mahaprabhu having taken sannyas is 4 years later. We'll be discussing next week. Kirtan Kodite Prabhu Sharva Bhabu Doi. All of the symptoms, they erupted. Sava Bhab Udoi, Stamba Kampa, Pulakasru Gadgara Praloi. Stamba, just like a pillar, Kampa, quivering like an autumn leaf, Pulakasru, hair standing on end like a ripe jackfruit, Gadgadai, throat choking up, Praloi, devastation. These are the symptoms of the supreme level of state of love of God. Love of God. Mahaprabhu would manifest. They would erupt. These symptoms would erupt in the kirtan. Now, it's not that we join the kirtan and we imitate these symptoms. We don't do this. This is not something that one can do mechanically. One time I asked His Holiness Jayapataka Swami Guru Maharaj, so can we roll on the ground in the kirtan? And his answer was very interesting. He said that you can if you cannot control yourself. But if you make a decision, yeah, it looks like a bit of space over there, maybe I'll roll on the ground. No, that's not allowed. Not that we imitate. But if you cannot control yourself, and he said to me, actually, you should try to control your ecstatic symptoms. He was joking. Should try to control your ecstatic symptoms. Contain. So Mahaprabhus are unable to contain. And in the kirtan, what should we do? We should raise our arms. And dance as Mahaprabhu was ordered to do. We follow the orders. That's the level that we are on. We're not on the Bhav Bhakti stage, the Bhav. We're discussing Apurva Bhavaye, astonishing emotions, Apurva Bhavaye, Shab, all of the symptoms of inflamed feelings. We're not on the platform of erupted feelings of love of God. Occasionally we get a reflection of feelings. We may be chanting, or we may be doing some service or association of great Vaishnavas. We may feel some emotion. Even tears may come to the eye. Devotees experience, but it's momentarily. But the state of love of God on Bhava platform is that one's constantly feeling like that. One has realized one's eternal relationship with Krishna. Radha kunda tate kalindi tinaya today chabangshi bate premon mar vashada shesha dashayo grashto pramatta shada gayanto chakara hare guna vanam bab abhibuto mudha bande rupa shanatano raguyugo sri jiva gopalago sila Srinivasacharya. He's describing that Radha kunda today, sometimes on the banks of Radha kunda kalindi tanaye or on the banks of the Jamuna, Bangshi Bate, or at Bangshi Bat, Premonmad, Vashada Shesha Dashaya Grishto Pramatta Sada, Premonmad. The Prema Unmad means madness. A Premunmad, the madness of love. Premunmad, Vashada Shesha Dashaya Grishto. Grishto means haunted. Means that you cannot get it out of your mind. Premunmad Vashada Shesha Dashaya Grashto Pramato, completely mad with love of God. Pramato Shada, always Sada. Premunmad Vashada Shesha Dashaya Grashto Pramato Shadar. Shadar means constantly. They're constantly feeling the feelings of emotions of love. Now, this stage, it is awakened. This is our dormant Nitya Siddha Krishna Prem. Nitya Siddha Krishna Prem. This love of Krishna is the inherent treasure of everyone. Nitya Siddha Krishna Prem. But it has to be awakened by practice. Abhyashena tukuntaya. Krishna is explaining that was that Maisha na sadayati. What is that? Na shaknati maishtidam. If you do not have the capacity, na shaknati maishtidam, to without deviation, to constantly remember me, na shaknati maishtidam abhyasha jogena tato. This 12th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. Abhyasha jogena tato. We have to practice the activities of loving Krishna. That's called abhyash yoga. Abhyasha jogena tato mamich chaptum dhananjaya. And in this way, mamicha, desire for me, will be awakened by practicing the activities. So this is what we're doing in the sadhana, is the rules and regulations. It's called Vaidhi. Vaidhi means rules. Whether we feel like it or not, we have to practice. We have to complete the Shankha Purvakanam. Means counting on the japa. Not that just when we feel like chanting, we chant. Actually, many devotees when they feel like chanting, but this is very slow. The progress will be very slow, just like training for the Olympics. No, I feel like it. No, you won't be the champion. You have to train every day. Rise early in the morning. You have to do all the exercises. You have to have a coach. All of these things, and then you can fully develop your potential. So similarly, Vaidhi sadhana. Smartavyam. What is Vaidhi in essence? Rupa Goswami explains, according from Puranic literature, that Smartavyam satatam Vishnu Vishmatabnanaja tuchit. Sarva Vidi Nishedayo Etayo Evakinkara. All of the rules, Sarva Vidi, Nished, and the do's and don'ts, Sarva Vidi Nishedayo Etayo Evakinkara, are simply servants of this principle, that Smartavyam satatam Vishnu. Have to always remember Vishnu, Vishmatabnanaja tuchit, and not forget him at a moment. But because that doesn't come naturally to us, then we have to absorb ourselves in the activities of sadhana bhakti. And if you're properly practicing, then actually it will fill your whole day, rising early, taking bath, waking the deity, offering some arati, chanting the japa, hearing the Srimad Bhagavatam, cooking for the deity, offering, cleaning the temple, going to the market, bringing the items, and preaching. And in the evening, again, performing the arati and putting the deity to rest. You can fill your day with the regulative principles of Bhagavad Bhakti. And in this way, it's called sadhana bhakti. And in this way, very quickly, the dormant love of God will be awakened. And then one can experience feelings of love of God that one naturally feels so much attraction. And very swiftly, one can come platform of prema. This is all described in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, which we believe you're studying very thoroughly in the ISKCON Mangalore. Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, Bhakti Shastri course. So when the students who gave this description, they described what sort of feelings, emotions, what sort of class. Mahaprabhu asked, how are my discussions on the sutras today? Then they explained how he was demonstrating these symptoms of inflamed love of Godhead. And then Mahaprabhu, you could say he responded, he explained, he described why he was acting in that way. We're reading from text 375 of chapter 1, Madhya Khanda, that Krishna Varna, that means a blackish, Krishna Varna ex Shishu, one blackish boy, Krishna Varna ex Shishu, Murali Bhajai, who's playing the flute, Krishna Varna ex Shishu, Murali Bhajai, Shabi Deki, I'm seeing all the time, Shabi Deki, Dai Bhai Bole Shardvatai. So brothers, for that reason, I'm always speaking about him. Because I'm always seeing a blackish boy who's playing the flute. I'm always seeing him, Shabi Deki, Tai Bhai. So brothers, therefore brothers, Tai Bhai, Bali Shardvatai. Therefore I'm saying, I cannot speak of anything else. I cannot speak of anything else. We have to, this is the purpose of the practice, why we accept Guru, why we follow regular principles, why we put all this effort to awaken this constant remembrance of Krishna. We sang Narottam Thakur, Radha Krishna, Manusha Janama Paya. I attained the human form of life, Radha Krishna na bhajiya. But I didn't worship Radha and Krishna. Janiya Shuniya Bisha Koinu. Having known, having heard, and having known, Bisha Koinu. Still, I drank the poison of sense gratification. Shangshada Bisha Nale. Shangshada Bisha Nale. It's the fire of sense enjoyment. Samshara bishanale, dibanishi hiya jale, dibanishi day and night, dibanishi hiya jale. We're burning. Our heart is burning with the desires for sense enjoyment. Judayite na kohinu upai. Judayite, the solution. Judayite na kohinu upai. Why I didn't take the solution? Golokera Prima Dan, Harinama Shankirtan. The Golokera Prime Dan, all of the riches of Golokadam are available in the Harinam Shankirtan, chanting of the holy and congregational chanting. Rodina Jan Milo Kene Tai. This is my predicament, that I didn't utilize my time to awaken. Roti Na Jan Milo. Na Jan Milo, the roti, the taste for the chanting. I wasted my life and didn't awaken the taste for chanting the holy name. So this is the purpose of all our practices, the purpose, reason why we're here, hearing. Shravanadi Shuddha Chitte Koraya Udoy. Mahaprabhu was explaining to Sanatana Goswami Prabhupada that principally by hearing, Shravanadi, foundationally by hearing, Shravanadi, based on hearing, Shravanadi Shuddha Chitte, heart becomes pure, Koraya Udoy. And those natural, those dormant, those constitutional feelings of love for Krishna, Koraya Udoy, they are aroused by hearing. So Mahaprabhu was explaining to the students, I shall not teach anymore. I cannot teach anymore. I give complete freedom to you. You carry on studying. You can accept any other teacher, but I cannot speak anything else than Krishna. His name and pastimes is not possible for me. And then Goshunda, he took a cloth in the tradition, the Shastra, it's kept in a cloth. Kept in a cloth. He took the Shastra and he tied it in a cloth and tied it up, like not going to open it again. These are the books, the grammar, Vyakaran, Alankar, the curriculum books. Not that Mahaprabhu didn't open the Shastra again. Mahaprabhu would hear the Bhagavat from Garada Pandit. He would hear the Dhruva pastimes. He would hear the Prahlad pastimes. He would hear Gita Govinda. He would hear the Shastra regularly. So Shishyagan Bolen, Korea Namaskar. This is text number 381. Shishyagan Bolen, the students said, Korea Namaskar, with folded hands. Shishyagan Bolen, Korea Namaskar. Amrao Korilang Shankalpa Tomar. Amrao Korilang Shankalpa Tomar. The resolution, Sankalpa Tomar, that you have made, that you're unable to study this is the literary subjects anymore. You're unable to study the literary subjects. Amrao Korilang Shankalpa Tama. We also will accept the same resolution. Why you said we can go and accept another teacher? Why? Having studied under you, how could we accept another teacher? How could we accept another teacher? Just understand the attitude of the student, attitude of the disciple. He so much values what the spiritual master awakened. He gave him the eyes to see his actual identity and the purpose of life. How could one accept another? After being given such gifts, how could one accept another? And feeling great separation, the students wept. And they said, may your explanations remain in our heart, birth after birth. So, we don't want to override. We don't want to take new guidance. Because whatever you have said, whatever you have this about literature, whatever you have done, that's enough. And that simply by remembering your teachings, we will sustain our enthusiasm. Simply by remembering your teachings. Not such a instructive attitude. So then Mahaprabhu is instructing the students, Nirabadi, Shravane, Shunaha Krishna Nam, without cessation, hear Krishna's name. Krishna Ho Tamar, Shavakar, Dhana Pran. Make Krishna your life and wealth. Whatever you have learned, that's enough, Mahaprabhu explained. Now let's chant the holy names of Krishna together. This text 394. Krishna Kripai Shastra Spuraka Shabar. All of the purport of the scripture will automatically manifest in your hearts by Krishna's mercy. Just like Prabhupada would often quote one verse from the Shvetashvatara Upanishad. Prabhupada explains the Upanishads are the highest evidence, and he would quote, this is the last verse of the Shvetashvatara Upanishad, Yashadeve Parara Bhakti Jata Deve Tata Guru Tashaite Prakita Pratashaite Kotitahi Arta Prakashanti Mahatmanaha. Yashadeve, Parabhakti, those who have Parabhakti, great devotion in the Lord, Jata Deve Tata Guru, and the same level of devotion in the spiritual master, Yashadeve Parabhakti, Jata Deve Tata Guru. What? It's on, yeah. Yashadeve Paradavakti Yatadeve Shataguru. Implicit faith in the Lord and the spiritual master. Tashaite Katitahi Arta. All of the conclusions of the literature. Katitahi Arta Prakashante will be revealed in the heart, Mahatmana, by devotion. So our courses, our study courses is called Bhakti Shastri. Not just study of Shastra, but with devotion. And then all of the imports of Shastra will be revealed in one's heart. Prabhu Amrit Bhakti Shuni Shishyagan, hearing the nectarian, the Amrit Vani. Imagine, Mahaprabhu is your teacher. Every day you're going and you're learning the literature, the grammar, the poetry, the literary studies from Mahaprabhu. The nectar, whatever he teaches, whatever he says is nectar. Prabhu Amrit Bhakya Shuni Shishyagan, and hearing these Mahaprabhus preaching, Prabhu Amrit Bhakya Shuni Shishyagan, when they heard the nectarian words, I remember being preached to by Mahaprabhu himself. I became a devotee. Who preached to? Mahaprabhu. Mahaprabhu. I was his student, then he became Parama Vaishnav, and then he preached to us. We became Vaishnav. Mahaprabhu's Leela, Chamatkar. So it's extraordinary. And Mahaprabhu's preaching to his students to become devotees. Prabhu Amrit Bhakya Shune Shishyagan, hearing the nectarian words of Prabhu. Param Anandaman Hoilo Tatakon. Tatakon at that very moment. Param Anandaman. They became filled with ecstasy. Text 396. Sheshab Shishyer Pai More Namaskar. This is Vrindavan Thakur. He's saying that I offer my obeisances. More Namaskar. Sheshab Shishyer Pai, to the lotus feet of these students. Sheshab Shishyer Pai More Namaskar. I offer my obeisances to the lotus feet of these students. Chaitanya Shishatta Hoilo Bhagyajar. They had the good fortune of being directly the students of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Sheshab Krishna Das Janiha Nishoy. Certainly they're Krishna's eternal associates. Certainly they're Mahaprabhu's eternal. How could they be able to experience such a Leela? Being for many years being Mahaprabhu's students, and then he's converting them to Krishna Bhakti. How could any ordinary person have such an experience? Certainly, Sheshab, Krishna Das, Janiha Nishchoy, certainly. We should understand their eternal sense of Krishna. Krishna Jare, Parayen, Sheki on Nahoy. Krishna was teaching them. Krishna was personally teaching them. How could it be anything else? They were certainly the Lord, eternal associates of the Lord. So in this way, a motto, Paripurno Vidyavilash. We've come to the conclusion of the Vidyavilash, Mahaprabhu's scholastic pastimes, which, as we mentioned, continued for actually almost 15 years. A motto in this way. Everything Mahaprabhu does is just so enchanting. You heard, he's thinking of going to Vrindavan, and then there's a voice from the sky that Kota Durjai Deshan Dibabani Ekoni Maturana Jaibo Dijamani. A voice from the sky, he changes his plan. For us, everything is so it's so boring and so mundane, and we finish one thing, some news phase. Everything is just so ordinary. Mahaprabhu, a motto in this way, Paripurna Vidyavilash. He concludes, Paripurna Vidyavilash, in such an extraordinary way. All the people was that Apurva Bhavaye Deki Jota John is extraordinary, rolling on the ground. 100 men couldn't contain him. Apurva Bhavaye Shab Deki Jota John. Shabai Balene Purush Narayan. Everyone's because he's Narayan. Everything is so extraordinary. He's giving up his pastime, Vidya, Paripurna Vidya Vilash, in such an extraordinary way, enchanting way. Shankirtan, Aramber Hoilo Prakash, and he began. In this way, he begins the Sankirtan pastimes, first with his students, teaching them how to chant. Let us chant the names of Krishna together, and then everything will be complete. Shishyagan Bolen, Kemon Shankirtan. The students inquired how to perform Shankirtan. Apani Shikayan Prabhu Shishachi Nondan. You personally teach us. And then Mahaprabhu taught them how to perform Shankirtan. It's very interesting. What did he respond in this connection at this moment? What did he say? Mahaprabhu said, you should chant Hadaya Nama Krishna Yadabaya Namaha Gopal Govinda Ram Srimadu Sudan. Mahaprabhu began. Krishna Yadavaya. Practice one a little more, maybe next week. Haraya Nama Krishna Yadavaya Namaha Gopal Govindaram Sri Madhusudan Mahaprabhu. He taught them this chanting. Haraya Nama Krishna Yadavaya Namaha Gopal Govindaram Sri Madhusudan. Next week we'll chant. He repeated, sing on, the students all chanting. Mahaprabhu was in ecstasy hearing the kirtan. For Abhishta Hoya Prabhu, Nija Nam Roshe, Nija Nam Roshe, Nija Nam Roshe. In the mellow of his own name, Abhishta Hoya Prabhu. He became in trance, intoxicated, hearing his own name. Gada Gadi Jai Prabhu, Dulaya Abheshe, rolling on the ground, choked up. And he calling out to the students, sing on, sing on. Prabhu Abheshe Deki Sharva Bhaktagan. Now, quickly, hearing the kirtan. As you mentioned, this is on the banks of the Ganga, where all of the students would gather. Everything was happening on the banks of the Ganga in Navadip. Now, hearing the kirtan, Mahaprabhu, all these students are performing this kirtan. Haraya Nama Krishna Yadavaya Namaha Gopal Govindaram Sri Madhusudan. Hearing the kirtan, all the Vaishnavas, they heard the sound of the kirtan. Prabhu Abhesh Deki, and they came. And I saw Mahaprabhu rolling on the ground, shedding tears of love of Godhead. Prabhu Abhesh Deki, Sharva Bhaktagan. All the devotees seeing Mahaprabhu manifesting these symptoms of love of God. Parama Apurva Shabe Babe Mone Mone. This is Parama Apurva. They're all completely astonished. Never seeing anything so wonderful before. Paramashanto Shabai Hoilo Antare. There were so much joy, Hoilo Antare in their hearts. Ebe Shekirtan Hoilo Nodiya Nagare. In this way, the kirtan of the Lord's holy name began in Nodiya Nagare, in the Nodiya village. And many of the Lord's students, they gave up study completely. They gave up the material life, and they simply became renounced, and they joined him in the Sankirtan movement. Aramba Mahaprabhu Apan Prakash. Nija, Mahaprabhu himself, he's Apan Prakash. Aramba Mahaprabhu Apan Prakash. Shokal Bhakta Dukkha Hoilo Bina. Seeing Mahaprabhu begin to manifest himself as the preacher of the Sankirtan movement. Shakal Bhaktir Dukkha Hoilo Vinash. All of the unhappiness of the devotees was removed. Vinash was vanquished. So in this way, Vrindavan Thakur sings and describes how Goshamnur gave up his pastimes of learning and began the Sankirtan movement in Navadip. Next week, we won't go in further detail now in Madhya Leela. We'll leave that for another time. We'll skip ahead 4 years, and next week we'll begin to discuss Mahaprabhu accepting sannyas and taking sannyas and then traveling to Jagannath Puri. And that'll be our topic for the next few months, which will begin next week. Are there any questions on the topics discussed today?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Thank you for the lecture. Hare Krishna. Anyone have a question? You can raise a digital hand.
Any question today you can think? Yes, Ramani. Ramani, question.
Prabhuji, namaskaram. Hare Krishna.
Yes.
I don't have any question. This is my first class I'm attending.
Oh, welcome.
I want to thanks Prabhuji.
Okay, you're welcome. You're welcome. Come next
Hare
week.
Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Shabani Kangani.
Yes.
Please unmute.
Question?
Can you be louder? Hare Krishna. Can't hear you. Hare Krishna, we can't hear you. Can you be louder? Can you unmute?
Prabhuji, your classes are so nectarian like always. I have nothing to ask you, Prabhuji. Dandavat pranam, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Hare Hare Rama Krishna Yadavaya Nama Yada Hare Nama Krishna Yadavaya Nama Go 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 Hare Hare Rama Krishna Yadavaya Nama Gopal Govinda Dham Sundara Sundara Hare Nama Krishna Hare Nama Krishna Yadavaya Nama Gopal Govinda Dham Sundara Sundara. Okay, we look forward to carrying on next week. Krishna
Hare
Bhakti.
Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Hare
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Prabhuji. Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Krishna Prabhuji.
So much, Prabhuji. Thank you,
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Pranam Prabhuji.
Pranam, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Pranam, Prabhuji.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Hare
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Dandavat pranam.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Pranam Prabhuji. Thank you Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Pranam Prabhuji.
Vegetarian. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Dandavat pranam.
Hare Krishna.